Hi, my friends, it's Bridget. I am going to have some fun here today with my Liberty scraps, my larger ones. And I have been taking some of my Alice Caroline collection and cutting off pieces and putting them in my larger selection, not the strips. I have a strip pile as well. And that's just smaller scraps that I'm adding to that. My whole intention with my Alice Caroline monthly fabric bundle is to acquire a really beautiful collection of Liberty Tana lawn so that I have a library of wonderful fabrics to dig through because I want to use them in my fabric collage. So that's why I decided to treat myself to that monthly subscription. I also don't want to wait to use them, so I am having some fun here with my plantional adhesive stabilizer. I bought a 30-yard roll of this. This is 30 yards. I think this is 18. I'm not sure. Let me check. But it's a 30-yard roll. 16 and a half, so I'm going to call it 16. So 30 yards by 16. I bought this to use with my bag making and other projects. I was buying another stabilizer and it was really expensive and it was driving me nuts because I was using more and more of the stabilizer. So I found this very economical stabilizer and I've used it already in several projects. I'm super pleased with it. I'll link it in the description. I'm really excited about it. It's very economical. So yay for that. I cut myself a piece of 11 by 18 and I am going to take my Liberty scraps over here and just have some fun with my placement and then iron it down once I have everything where I think I want it. I'm just going to have some fun. It's not going to be planned out. I just love doing this and relaxing and it just go with the flow. And it's Liberty, so you can't go wrong. I want to use this because I've been making a lot of baskets over the last couple years and I have been putting the organza on top of it. I absolutely love it, but I wanted to see if I could create a nice basket without the organza. And because now I have this lovely treasure trove of this adhesive stabilizer, 30 yards goes a long way. Also, I think if you use this lighter weight stabilizer, I think it might be easier to sew. And a lot of us have just domestic sewing machines. I have industrial sewing machines too, but I just want to see how it's going to perform. So I also am wondering what's going to happen when I start stitching, doing my free motion stitching on all of this. Is it just going to tear right through this and eat it up, and will it become nothing? I'm not sure. So it's an experiment. I just think it would be so fun to be able to make some baskets that are not as heavy. This does not, it's gorgeous. This does not need to be as substantial as it is. If it's a little basket with your sewing essentials in it, it does not need to be as beefy as this. So that's my plan here today. And I just want to see how this plantional stabilizer is going to hold up once I start stitching on it and having my way with it at my sewing machine. So I don't know if it'll hold up to it, but we're going to find out. Thanks for joining me. I ever so gently slid this onto my ironing board, and it wasn't that bad, actually. I was surprised. There's enough grip on the adhesive side of the plantional stabilizer, and the Liberty's so fine that it seemed to be fine. I mean, nothing really moved. I was very pleasantly surprised. Now I'm going to lay my silicone sheet over and press it. Teflon sheet. I apologize. Alrighty. Let's go with the lift test. Oh, wow. It did pretty well. Yay. Okay. So that's good. Wow, what a beautiful piece of fabric. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my machine and set up for free motion. And I am just going to swirl around everywhere on this. Oh, there's a couple empty spots there I see now, but I'm just going to leave them. I'm not going to worry. I will cover them with thread. It will be fine. And I will come back and show you how I did. I'm not sure how this is going to hold up, but I'm just going to put on a fun book or podcast or some music or something and just zone out and swirl around and just do the free motion all over with this relatively neutral thread. I think it's going to be perfect because, yeah, it's nice and thin. So I will be back once I do that. I did a whole lot of stitching on this, and it's puckery, but I like it. I like how it adds the texture to the fabric. I'm going to give this a good press. I don't need my press cloth because everything is stitched down really well. I'm going to give it some steam. And I had no issues with my machine and doing the free motion. I just went nuts all over this guy. Oh, I like it. Oh, I see a little tag there. I can just cut that. That's nice. Perfect. I love it. It came out really well. So now I want to make a basket. And the nice thing about this is that when I make the basket this time, oh, I got another little tail there, but I can cut that because they're overlapping. Perfect. So now I'm going to make my basket. And what I do when I make my baskets is I fold this in half. As best I can. And I'm going to make a notch here and here. Then I'm going to get my wonder clips and I am going to clip these sides here, here, and I am going to take this to my sewing machine and I am going to stitch from here to right about here. I always like to use my hand as a marker, so let's call it, you need to be able to turn it. So I'm going to back stitch here and stitch to here and back stitch, jumping over this, stitch, back stitch here, come all the way over and back stitch here. And I'm going to use about a 3/8 inch of a seam allowance here. They're very forgiving to sew. I did my stitching, and I do have my gap here. I'm sorry it's hard to see because of the white thread. I'm using a nice white thread, so I'll be able to turn that there so I can get rid of my clips. And I did make my notches here on each side, so all I need to do is come down here and open up this seam, if I can. Let's see. There we go. And I'm going to line that opening up with my notch that's underneath here. There's my notch. And here's my seam. And I'm going to open that up. Let me see if I can just open up this first. There we go. Okay. And just make sure that that seam's lined up. The center of that seam is lined up with my notch. Alrighty. Oh, this is pretty, I can tell already. And this is nice because I don't have my organza on this in this case. So I don't have to worry about the organza melting or not agreeing with the heat. So that's what I have. Just get another nice press. And now I want my base of my basket to be 2 inches. So I'm going to come up on each side just about an inch. I'm just going to press it. I can double check. I'm pretty good at my 1 inch marking. Yep. When you sew for a long time, you you get pretty good at eyeballing things. So do that. Another inch on this side. You can always double check. Yep. Good. Alrighty. And I can clip this if I want. I don't really need to because it's pressed. But if you are going to leave it for later and go to another project, you might want to just leave it like that. And so now all I need to do is go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to do about a 3/8 inch seam coming down all the way and back stitching at each end. I think I might back stitch over the top of this too, because when you're turning it, why not? I mean, a couple back stitches never hurts anything. A little more is better in this case. So I'm going to do the same on this side. And I have my walking foot on, so I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. I did my stitch line, and now I'm just going to take my scissors, and I am going to just trim a little of this excess off, and maybe just clip the corners. Making sure not to go into my seam allowance, and don't want to clip my stitches. And now all I have to do is turn this around. Fun part. So let's see how that goes. Oh, it's a lot easier to turn than the organza basket, I can tell already. They're both beautiful. They're all beautiful. They're just a different outcome. And depending on the supplies that you have on hand, if you don't have organza, it's this sweet little, oh, I love it. Excuse me. I get excited so easily with these fabric projects. Okay, so now I just want to do some pressing around the top here. because I'm going to top stitch this. So let me see if I can get this situated. Oh, that's nice. I've done all my pressing. So now what's left is to go to my sewing machine and go around and top stitch with about 1/8 of an inch, and I want to close my gap. So I'm going to try to stay as close to 1/8 of an inch as I can, and I'll be right back. I did my top stitching, but now I'm realizing that it's too floppy, and I'm a little bummed about that. So I am going to seam rip this apart and get back to my open piece of fabric. I was looking at my other baskets, and this one is Thermolam with the organza. It's almost too much for me. It's nice, but it's a little firm. And it was also very difficult to get through the sewing machine to top stitch. This one is ideal. I've been using this one. It sits on my dining room table with my crochet in it, which is silly, I know, but I love it. And this is Steam a Seam with organza. So, and I like how this is. What I have not done yet is a basket with just Thermolam and no organza. So I want to do that. So I know it's crazy. I just want to do it because I don't want any UFOs laying around. I already have so many UFOs, unfinished objects. I know we all have those, and I'm doing this right now. So I'm just going to keep rolling with it. Going to seam rip it apart. Going to cut a piece of Thermolam, which is adhesive, and I'm going to iron it on, and I will show you that. And then I'm going to take it back to my sewing machine and sew it again. I seam ripped this apart and it went pretty smooth. It was nice because when I originally stitched it, my stitch length was 4 millimeters. So it was a really big stitch, so it was easy to pull out. And I don't know how, but I ended up with a little rip here. It's actually ripped the interfacing, the plantional, and this piece of fabric here is just two separate pieces of fabric. So I'm going to have to be aware of that when I put this back together. And I cut a piece of my Thermolam Plus, and I cut it a little smaller because I want to see if keeping this out of the seam allowance, the interfacing out of the seam allowance, it should be easier to top stitch. There's a fair amount of bulk on each side here. Not so much here, but I can enjoy and learn doing it a different way. So that's what I'm doing. So now what I need to do is press my Thermolam onto my base fabric, which, by the way, I am absolutely in love with. So I'm glad I am going in and fixing this and doing it now instead of setting it aside. My Thermolam is adhered to my base piece. And now I just need to go back through the same steps as I did before and make my basket. I stitched again, leaving my gap open. I do have my rip to deal with, so I hope that's not going to cause me problems. I wanted to mention that I'm using the Thermolam as a stitch line, which is nice and handy. So when I turn it, I'm hoping it will be nice and clean. So let me go ahead and finish this up. I absolutely love how it came out. I'm glad I took it apart. I'm so glad I took it apart and redid it with the Thermolam. And I love how the bulk is out of this seam. You can see how the difference here. It's just very clean and nice. If you're gonna worry about those kinds of things like I do. I hope you guys got something out of the video, even if it was to see how you can fix your mistakes and how sewing is very forgiving and rewarding. So I love it. I have another beautiful basket. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, have fun out there. Bye.